Pathikada. Bandula Jayasekara Samaga.
Tony Greig loved Sri Lanka and we loved Tony Greig. And Sri Lanka did, I had said before that I don't think any other country, everybody loved Tony, but Sri Lankans loved him more. We cannot forget how he introduced things like the words like Little Kalu and how Tony battered and bowled for Sri Lanka. So on behalf of Newsfirst and the Capital Maharaja Group, we warmly welcome Vivian Greig and Beau Greig. So y'all are here in Sri Lanka, Vivian, on a holiday or?
Firstly, thank you for that lovely introduction, and let me tell you, it was mutually reciprocated. Tony loved Sri Lanka and loved everything about coming here, about the people. Yes, we are here. We're here on a cricket tour. What a surprise.
But it's good to have you all because, when Tony went beyond, you all couldn't, it was in
2012.
And then...
Yeah, that's right. It was very sudden. He was here, I think, just 3 months before he passed away. And it was very sudden and it was just awful. It was just no words. But
and you waited so long to come and visit us.
Well, there were opportunities. The children, lovely Beau was 12 when Tony passed away, and Tom was 10, and so they've had to finish schooling, and there have been school adventures and school tours that have taken time, and that's what brings us back now. So our son Tom is here on a schoolboy cricket tour, and he's loving it, enjoying
6'6".
6'6", and still
taller
going.
than Tony.
He might catch him up. I think he might get there. Yeah.
Now, Beau, what are your memories of Sri Lanka? I remember when you came to my place in Sydney, you and Tom, you loved the curry.
I did.
You used your fingers.
I loved it.
What are your memories?
Sri Lanka is like a second home for me and Tom. We've been coming since I was just a baby, visiting Colombo. We've been on a cricket tour before, across all of Sri Lanka, like Colombo, Kandy and Gaul. We love every single part of Sri Lanka, and all the people are so kind and generous and warm, and it's truly an honor to be back, and I love Sri Lanka.
How do you feel so far?
Grand. I'm golden. I love it. I love it here very much.
You will, you're here, but you'll miss Kandy, but you'll go to Gaul.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Well, I love Colombo probably like the best. It feels like the real center of everything here. But yeah, I love the variety that Sri Lanka has to offer. So there's so many beautiful places to visit. So
Vivian, do you see any changes in Sri Lanka?
Huge changes, huge. I remember when we used to go to Sharjah all those years ago, and that's where the association with Sri Lankan cricket really started. So there was a fabulous producer of rights, a man we've talked about before, Mark Mascarenhas. He would cover the tournament between India, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. And Tony was covering one of those tours, and Sri Lanka won the tournament. And so he said, geez, these fellows really know what they're doing, and they're the ones to watch. Arjuna Ranatunga was captain, Aravinda de Silva. They played really exciting attacking cricket. They were very successful. And then, funny how these things happen organically. So the next thing that happened, Tony saw Sri Lanka in action here, or in Sharjah, and then they toured Australia. And then there was the famous incident in Perth with Murali, and he was called for chucking, and Tony was having none of it. Here's a young, talented man with his entire career before him, and the thought that this young man could be deprived in any way of
that
the success
incident, yeah.
Yeah, and perhaps it wasn't clear and it needed to be made clear. I don't blame Mr. Hare, I don't blame anyone, and I don't think there was any blame associated, but it had to be ventilated. The issue had to be discussed. It had to be understood by everyone involved, because it easily could have ruined was one of history's most successful bowlers. I don't know what his final stats were, but they're very, very impressive. And for whatever small part Tony was able to play to make sure that Murali was treated with respect and treated fairly, then it's a good result.
It was not a small part to play. That's why I said he really batted and bowled for Sri Lanka, and he took it upon himself.
Yeah, he did. We've had this discussion with the administrators, but it was Arjuna as well, a fantastic captain. That took such integrity and strength to take the team off the field you know, the administrators during that time, you know, they went and they got the lawyers involved. And then you had, you know, Tony was also in the background and supporting where he could publicly. There were many parts to it. So Tony can't take all the credit, but for what he did, he felt very strongly.
He batted from the boundary line.
He batted from the heart.
Yeah.
He definitely batted from the heart.
But did he discuss these things with you about Sri Lanka?
We were always together. I mean, you know, we were always, you know, we went on the tours. The kids started coming to Sri Lanka from the age of 6 months. I mean, they've been here many times. And it's one of the few places where you can go where children and families are very much included in the cricket world. And I think in Sri Lanka generally, one of the difficulties that the players had up until the late 70s was the inclusion of families, especially the England side. You know, the families were allowed to visit. You know, the men would be away for 10 months of the year, and the families were only allowed to see their partners for 3 weeks. It's an outrageous way to treat grown-up people.
Beau, why did your father love Sri Lanka so much?
I think he loved it because of the people. The people make the place, and I think that he appreciated how kind everyone was and how they reciprocated all of his kind of warmth, and they were just so generous. I think he felt like someone needed to champion these people. They really deserved to have the backing of someone who had a profile, and I think that it's the people that make the place, and I think that's what Dad probably thought as well.
And also, Vivian, I want to tell you that when Tony died, Sri Lanka cried.
I know, it was wonderful. Don't make me cry now.
No, I mean, I remember sending you the condolence message after the President Rajapaksa. I mean, it's that, I mean, that's what, so we are really happy to have you, even with, I mean, I'm sorry that we don't have Tom here with us.
Oh, Tom, don't be sorry about not having Tom. Tom having a grand time.
Yeah. So now let's talk about your brother. Shall we let your mother speak, or you speak about your?
I think Mum.
That's dangerous.
You have your fights, right? Yeah. That's normal.
I think Mum knows a great deal.
Yeah, because people will want to know. He's following Tony's footsteps.
He is. I mean, he loves sports. He's following Tony's footsteps in rugby as well. I mean, he loves to play rugby. Tony played very competitive rugby throughout school. So Tom loves his rugby in the winter, loves his cricket in the summer, and plays it for the joy of it. He doesn't play for any other reason than he loves the game. And he's, you know, he's been made captain of his school team. He's captain of the first 11 at his school, and he's got a leadership role here, and he's really enjoying it. He loves
so how
it.
did he start? Did he start as a bowler or a batsman? How did he?
Well, he started when he's 6, so I think any contact you make with the ball is good. So he started when he was very little. And he could see that he had good hand-eye coordination. I mean, I'm the mother, I'm biased, but he had a bit of hand-eye coordination, so he could always connect with a bat. And then Tony would say, I'll just straighten out his action. So he didn't spend long with him, but it was quality. It was the quality of what Tony told Tom. And Tom's very much his own man, and he's basically, you know, taken it upon himself to develop his own game. Tom's his own man, playing his own game.
And of course, he loves Sri Lanka. I mean, let me show, I mean, I'm sure our producer will show this, but this is where, when he was, Tom doesn't look like this anymore, but this is when Tom was presented with the Sri Lankan jersey during the Independence Day celebrations of Sri Lanka, when we had it on Harbour Cruise. But Tom doesn't look like this anymore.
No.
Right. So and then he, I mean, I think he wore this Sri Lankan shirt with pride, where you sent me a photograph later.
Yeah, he loved it. He loved it.
He still wears it.
He still wears it.
I'm pretty sure he still wears it.
He does have another Sri Lanka shirt. That one he grew out of, I'm sorry to say. But he does have another one.
Does he emulate any, like, cricketer, Australian or worldwide, or has he got any favourites?
It would be better if you were to ask him. But he does have his favourites, and one of the people that was incredibly kind to him when Tony passed away was Michael Clarke. So Michael Clarke was captain of the Australian side, and he always gave Tom time. You know, he'd see him in the nets, and there's the captain of Australia, and if he stops to talk to someone, that's it. You know, everyone comes and sees him. He would always take the time to speak to Tom. So in Australia, definitely as a cricketer and as a man, I think Michael Clarke was terrific.
And he was very fond of Steve Smith, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Steve Smith, you know, very, very, you know, captain of Australia. But he used to watch Steve Smith in the nets in Sydney, so he sort of got a feeling for him. The other people that were very kind after Tony passed away were people in the commentary box. So Tony was, he would have been, Tony took Tom to the commentary box from when he was little, and they would discuss the game. They talk about the strategy. They talk about the field placement. They would, you know, he loved it. So Tom was little, but he absorbed it like a sponge.
And let me also show you, this is little Tom at the commentary box with former Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott, but I want to say that Tom doesn't look like this anymore, but this was 2012 or
not long, maybe, I'm not sure, 13 or 14.
Yeah.
But I mean, how kind of, you know, Prime Minister Abbott. There are a lot of people that want to talk to him, and he took the time to say, who's that little boy? They said it's Tony Greig's son. He went and sat with him, introduced, and they talked about all sorts of things. So it was very generous of Mr. Abbott to do that.
Beau, in a way, you're also following your father. You are working for Channel 9.
I am. I'm working in a newsroom, funnily enough.
So tell our viewers, I'm sure they want to know more about the Greigs.
Well, I mean, I love anything to do with like current affairs, and that's what I'm doing at university as international relations. So I love anything to do with what's current, and I love to know what's going on in the world, and it's a wonderful place to be in the know about that sort of thing and to be aware. And I think that that's a gift. I think everyone should be able to know what's going on in the world and be made aware and informed about all of the sort of issues and things.
So is this going to be your career, or what does your mother say? I know she can sing. Let me also show this. This is where Beau sang the Australian national anthem when we celebrated the Sri Lankan National Day when I was the Consul General in Sydney. This is a little Beau. Everybody has changed. Taller than your mother.
Taller than Mum.
So let's you know, like I mean, more about it. I know you sing. Do you still sing?
Yeah, I do. I love to sing. I think it's a great joy to be able to sing. And I what else? I'm a big reader. I'm a bookworm. I love, let's see. I love where I work at the moment. I love being a part of a channel, and it's a big family, the Channel 9 family, and I've been a part of it since I was very small, probably like a baby, very small baby, and I love it. I love the people, and I feel like I'm a part of a really big family and a great little team.
First commentary box baby, for sure. I've got a picture of Beau in Sharjah as a baby in the commentary box. In those days it was quite open and the commentators were there, and you were sitting alongside them. It wasn't in a studio, it was all open air.
And like Vivian, that we also got close to Channel 9 because Richie Beno, and we because of cricket.
Yes.
Sri Lankans, you know, everything in from Australia, we remember, and then Tony came in with, I mean, like commentating all over, but Channel 9 became close to Sri Lanka, especially the cricket lovers.
And they were, the people in the commentary box were also, you know, a family. They did many years together. I mean, Bill Laurie and Tony were very, very close. They worked together for over 30 years. So that's, you know, that's a strong friendship across lots of tours, lots of nights out. And again, when Tony passed away, it was the people in the commentary box. You know, they had Tom, they continued to have Tom in Sydney. And it was nice for him to be with men of similar interest, similar career interest, similar style. You know, it was good for him to continue to be part of that world until he got too big, I suppose. He sort of, you know, outgrew it to a certain extent. And of course, 9 now don't have the rights anymore.
Lost it to Channel 7.
They've been taken over by Network 7 now. So that little family is disbanded temporarily, I think, but I'm sure they'll reunite somewhere in the world. You know, there's always a need for good commentators internationally. It's also good to see some of the young men coming through. You know, some of the newly retired players given an opportunity. So yeah, cricket looks pretty healthy from where I sit.
What do you think of cricket, Beau?
I love cricket. No, genuinely, I do. People ask me, and I love watching it, and I just think that there's a beauty and a grace to cricket that I think you just don't find in any other sport. And I think that just the people that I've met that have been a part of it, it's been such a big part of their lives and their livelihood. And I think that once you're a part of cricket and part of playing the game, it's a life thing, and you become a part of this family for life. And I appreciate the beauty and the grace and the complexity that comes with cricket.
Influenced by your father, because your father and mother carried you all when you brought you all to Sri Lanka when you all were 6 months.
My goodness, she liked it. Can you imagine what her life would be like if she was saying, "Oh no, not another game"? But both seen. But you've also seen the best of the best as well.
Yeah,
I think from the get-go.
Yeah, it's an honour. It's a real honour and a privilege to be able to see and meet the people that I've met, and to go to the places and travel, you know, the places that I have. I'm only 18, so I love that.
Proud of your brother doing well, captaining your school team.
Yeah.
He's doing okay. Yeah, he's doing okay. Anything can happen, you know. Hopefully he continues his interest after school, but it's entirely up to him. I don't push.
How passionate is Tom? How passionate is Tom?
He he enjoys it, and he puts his heart and soul into it when he's there. He's a very fair person. So I think...
Still soft-spoken?
Yeah, he thinks about what he says before he says it. So he's a man of few words, but when it comes out, he's thought about it.
He didn't tell you when he was appointed the captain of his cricket team?
No, I heard when
What about you? You didn't know?
I was not in the know. I was sort of told he doesn't like to make a fuss. He's very modest and kind of he doesn't want to draw too much attention to himself. He stays under the radar, and I actually admire that about him a lot.
Do you all still argue?
Pardon?
Do you all still argue and have your little fights? Brother and sister?
When we were younger, not so much anymore. I'm lucky enough to get a hug the other day, which was a rare occurrence. That was good. So yeah, I think we're past that angst-ridden teenage phase.
One can only hope.
And Vivian, coming back to Sri Lanka, you managed to taste some Sri Lankan food when I was in Sydney. You enjoyed. I remember the fish cutlet at your party which you hosted up during the Ashes. But how do you find, what do you enjoy most here in Sri Lanka?
I like the hoppers at breakfast, to be honest. I quite like.
So you have hoppers for breakfast?
I have had. I know, I enjoy the Sri Lankan food. I love the
egg hoppers,
egg hoppers, string hoppers. Yeah, I love it. But you can get everything here. Every menu has, every hotel has so many restaurants. And it's a very international cuisine now.
Unlike what we find in the West. The same old thing.
I think the really authentic, you tell me if I'm wrong, but the very authentic Sri Lankan food is traditionally very, very hot.
Very hot. Spicy.
It looks spicy, aromatic, easy. But I think for someone who is, used to really hot food, no, I can't do it. I'd like to, but you have to build up to it. And I don't think I've been here long enough to get to that point. And then
what about you, Beau?
I love it.
Like Mum hoppers?
I think it's hardcore. It's cool. And I think that what me and Mum were saying the other day is when you get to Sri Lanka and you start eating the food, and then it's just so full of flavour and just so much, like it packs a punch. So when you go home, everything tastes bland and boring, like comparatively. It's crazy.
Yeah, we grab the chili when we get home until we adjust downwards again to moderate heat.
Exactly. No, it's good.
And Tom, when he was little, I remember he ordered hot dogs. When he was very little, by the pool, hot dogs. I said, "How are the hot dogs?" "Hot." Yeah. So that was it. So the next day, "What do you want for lunch?" "Hot dogs." "And how are they?" "Hot." And I thought, well, that's good. They brought them out. They're warm,
So far you haven't been around much. You went to the Wesley College grounds, then you went to the army grounds.
The army grounds against Mahanama College, yes. And then...
you went to Ananda College? Or,
I beg your pardon?
To Ananda or the Wesley College? It was
Wesley College
Wesley College, but the rain also...
They still played. They had the first day, despite thinking that it was washed out, they played a T20. Yesterday they had a 25-over game. So it's probably worked out okay. They've had a 20 game, a 25-over game, and then they'll gradually work their way into a 50-over game. But the competition's been fantastic. The boys share the bus together, the two teams. It's been a very good experience for all the boys. Tom's lucky he's been here many times before, but for the other boys, it's unique, and they're so welcomed.
We'll take a short break now, and we'll be back with you in a moment.
Bandula Jayasekara Samaga.
Welcome back to Pathikada. Our guests today are Vivian Greig and Beau Greig, and they don't need any introduction. We love Tony. Tony loved us, and we love all of you all. Now let's I want to talk, I know you get very emotional, but I want to talk more of Tony now.
Well, I might not answer. You're going to make me
Yes.
emotional.
No, I'm not going to make you emotional, but I know you are doing lots of charity, you know,
I did,
you are
yeah,
doing for like in memory of Tony.
Yes.
Would you tell our viewers about that, what you're doing?
I think once the main emphasis was on Epilepsy Action Australia. Tony had epilepsy from the age of 12, and it was a big part of his life. And, you know, it's not a very high-profile condition to have. So when he passed away, he was the spokesman. And until they find someone else that can speak, I've sort of tried to do what I can to keep the profile up. We've done some fundraising. We have a fundraise to build a website and a portal so that it would make it easier for people with the condition to contact one another, to contact nurses, to have easier access to doctors and where to find doctors. And it's completed now, so the website's up, it's running. It's especially important for people in rural areas, because epileptics can't drive a lot of the time, or they're prohibited from driving for some of the time. So the internet's a fantastic way for them to get information, and you know, there's different ways like WhatsApp and in the old days Skype. There are lots of ways to communicate.
And I attended one event where you were.
You came with us, yeah.
That hospital, cancer, the hospital
yes,
project.
The cancer, yeah. So you know, I'm still involved with fundraising and research there. So it's kept me busy, and it's nice to be able to give back, you know, with people and institutions that have helped us. So yeah, that's good.
And then also I want to find out now, like, I mean, okay, I don't want to talk further on that, because now apart from cricket, Tony played golf.
He did play golf.
He did play golf. Let's
He played
talk
a lot
about
of
that.
golf. He played a lot of golf.
Golf in Sri Lanka.
He played a lot of golf in Sri
And
Lanka.
I know you all play golf. So
I play bad golf. I don't
Yeah.
play good golf. I play. I love golf, but it doesn't love me back at the moment. So it's when I have time. You know, as a sole parent, I don't have the time. Since Tony passed away, all of my energy has gone into my daughter and my son. You know, they were very young when my husband passed away. So my total focus has been their well-being and trying for them not to be as affected or reduce the impact that losing a dad has been. And you just don't have time for golf.
But for Tony, it was cricket.
But when he
then
played,
golf.
he played golf whenever he could, especially out here. The Royal Colombo, he's taken a lot of divots out there. Sorry about that. But he loved playing golf. Yeah, he's a very keen golfer.
And also, Beau, now, you may not like that. How is it to be still, I mean, everybody, you know, people, I suddenly hear somewhere on YouTube, suddenly hear your father's voice, you know, we still hear that people like the sports channels always show this, and you hear your father's voice. And then still, the world treats you all as cricketing royalty. And how do you feel about it?
I'm honoured. I'm really honoured to be a part of it. I think, you know, I'm the same when I hear Dad's voice. Like, it's you know, such a big part of his personality, and it's such a beautiful. I always think it was such a beautiful tone to his voice and very comforting, and it just it makes me think of him, very distinctive. And I think it's an honour to be a part of, you know, the cricketing world, and you know, as you get older, you appreciate more and more, you know, what a tight knit. And, you know, but also, like, it's tight-knit, but it's also very inclusive. Like, if people put in the energy and the time and they love the game, you know, it gives back. So I think that I'm just very chuffed and honoured to be a part of the cricketing community.
Vivian, how did Tony create that excitement? Sometimes I used to hear his voice from far.
It's just him. It was just him. He was such an enthusiast. I mean, he would have made the ultimate salesman, you know, but he's very honest. But look, I'm probably not the right person to ask, because I think I'm very biased. But I think for someone,
are biased too.
But I think you know, it's quite a thing to try and anticipate what's going to happen. So you have a game in front of you, and I don't know how many other professions where you have to anticipate what's coming, predict what's coming, talk intelligently and succinctly about it, make it entertaining, and that know that millions of people across the world are going to pull it apart after you've said it. And so I used to say that to him, I used to think, what a talent to do that. And he said, please don't say that, because if you make me think too much about it, it's not spontaneous. But that's 100% Tony. An enthusiast, loved the game. The game was very good to him. And he could still read it and read what was happening on the horizon. He could predict, you know, rights were going to come up for negotiation here and that this was going to happen, that. So he had a feeling for how the game was going to develop internationally.
Another question on behalf of the cricket-loving public. You may not expect this question. What happened to that hat which Tony made so popular? I don't see any commentators having that hat. What happened?
A few of them do. I think certainly Richie wore one for a while. Ian Chappell wears a hat similar to that, but I have all the hats.
But
I have
it
them
was
all.
Tony who made that popular.
He did. He auctioned quite a few off for the McGrath Foundation, so every year he donated a hat, which I used to paint pink, for the Jane McGrath Day, which is the pink day at the Sydney Cricket Ground on the third day of the Sydney Test. So every year he gave one and they auctioned it off, so it was good.
I have 1.5 minutes more. Beau and Vivian, what have you got to tell the people who love Tony to our Sri Lankan viewers?
Two words, thank you. That's it.
Beau, I'm sure you can say more than your mum, because it's good to have you back.
Yeah.
I think I relay the same thing. Thank you for loving him, and thank you, we appreciate it. And whenever I'm here, I feel like I'm a part of a beautiful, truly beautiful community. And yeah, just thank you for appreciating him when sometimes he was under a lot of scrutiny. And I think that, yeah, he loved Sri Lanka, and we do too.
And we gave him unconditional love, and he gave us unconditional love to Sri Lanka. And thank you very much, Vivian. Thank you very much, Beau. And then I have to really I miss you here, Tom, but I hope I can stay and get another photograph with you and like look up like this. And then I really want to thank all of you on behalf of the Sri Lankan fans, and take our love back with you to Australia.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.